Happy Wednesday, everyone. First, as I understand people are curious about what we do when we're not a talking head on your Zoom screen, I'm just going to show you a bit of my work as a small firm owner. We are only 4 people now, although there have been many people who have passed through my firm in its 23 years. It is the third firm I've had in Duluth, and it has survived enough death threats like 9/11 and the recession of 2006, not to mention these recent years, that I imagine it could last well into a next iteration, whatever that might be. I design mostly residential work, though I haven't gotten by without my share of commercial and civic project involvement. I prefer the close and detailed discussion, the give and take, that is especially acute in residential work, which always walks the line between knowing enough and knowing too much about the people you've only recently met. I am sometimes a spy, other times a counselor, a translator, and an interpreter, and I am sometimes silent and reserved. It is definitely a balancing act. I'd rather briefly present a few projects, and then I'd like to show you a deeper dive into my head through a video about creativity entitled Unfolding the Embrace. Between my built work and my thoughts on creativity, a short video entitled Truck, a work of dance and movement by Art Bridgman and Myrna Packer, which is related to my thinking as it provokes perceptual change with the change of context, constantly folding and unfolding the embrace, as it were. The entire work is filmed out of the back of a 14-foot transfer truck. So here are a few of my projects. Here is what they wished was. First, there is a peninsula with barely enough room to access it and intervene. The site is surrounded on 3 sides by the St. Louis River. In part, because of the conditions of the site, the clients fancied a place they have often been. In France, a simple farmhouse on a pond. The dream was about materials, texture, and color. The reality of the program, which included a large space for dining, a second informal living space or sunroom, a master suite of generous spaces, and a roof deck, in addition to the standard farmhouse ingredients, along with the materiality of their dream, meant that the budget for the project was its greatest challenge. In fact, the whole dream was well beyond the capacity of the budget, but, as in all projects that have budgets at all, you must pick your battles of cost versus quality and meaning. Playing with historic precedent is particularly challenging in that visual expressions and assemblies need to be incorporated for their memorable qualities. The imagery they provide should transport the participants to the intended place of their dreams, but they must also be very carefully vetted for cost of labor and cost of materials. So in our case, all extra functional spaces built were made servants of the initial stone structure from which the dream evolved, and within which most of the basic functions of cooking, eating, gathering, and guest travelers sleeping occurred. All of the spaces unaccustomed to the stone farmhouse presence expressed as the white framed simplicity of early American aesthetic. When materials seemingly the opposite in character, like stone and painted wood, are mediated by transparency, they can add together without appreciable change of scale and without one visually dominating over another. The materials develop a dependency. A second project, Feng Shui Activated. This project is a reactionary project, born of an interest in change and in the opposites and contrasts of a life lived so far. Until this project, my clients lived in a house that looked like this, in spaces that looked like this. And so they requested daylight, fresh air, open spaces outwardly oriented, intimate connection to sight, and they sought clarity for their ideas in Feng Shui, literally meaning wind and water. There are a great many principles in this way of balancing the natural world, and not all were aligned with the realities of site or materials budgets, but the study did provide a language to a design process within which my clients found comfort. The project is Cartesian. Space is specifically organized around the primary compass directions of north, south, east, and west, and the strongest daylight delivered. Sleeping gathered light from the east, gardening, food preparation to the west, living with family and play to the south, and individual contemplative, inward-seeming spaces to the north. The roof forms activate these spaces, which are layered one to the next along a necklace of circulation that allows more than one way to attend most spaces. This is also a house of courtyards, where common activities and materials share inside and outside space. It lies along a significant watershed in Duluth and is geothermally heated via backwater ponds. The building was specifically placed after initial excavation, knowing we would have exposed rock. A round boulder, in fact, about 30 feet in diameter, crowns in the southern courtyard. Located on the rather steep hillside, the driveway created a curved and shallower pitch, a lap around the project, which directs abundant surface runoff water to the watershed. A third project built on an existing foundation. The original house, which was a plan book house with few windows on the lakeside southeast, was carefully dissected, packaged, and labeled. More than 70% of the project, including plumbing, flooring, doors, etc., were donated to the Environmental Learning Center just 20 miles away. Located in the Palisades on Lake Superior, the project is a complex program for a former monk versed in the art of egg tempera restoration of plaster murals, now a fine artist and bass player, and a special effects creator for the movie industry based in LA. Rules of structure were numerous in the project, including remediation of poorly pinned walls and undersized footings. Unlike most residential projects, there were several creative studio spaces requested within the project, embedded with or adjacent to more public spaces, for both production and spiritual purposes. Many materials, including recycled wine cask redwood and fir beams and columns from the Boeing plant in Seattle, found new purpose in this project and kept company with the owner's collection of Thai artifacts. The extraordinary site, 2,000-foot front of shoreline, including a giant ice cave over which the house is built, a 50-foot-high island only 16 feet from the shore, connected by a somewhat precarious bridge which I am now working to replace, and a series of intimate coves with knives of stone emergent, is replete with features and qualities that organized and generated the spaces within the project, playing with a variety of views in daylight. Above all, the materials are warm and tactile, durable and permanent. Lastly, and without explanation, 4 quick projects with only their names. Masquerade. Moored. Double Take. Doo-wop. And now, before a video called Unfolding the Embrace, the excerpt from Truck, a Dance by Bridgman Packer.